or call it simply a point in time when a life-changing awareness dawns upon you. My own occurred the day I realized as a young woman that I could study myself out of poverty and into a life where no dream is ever impossible. Yes, even for a girl growing up in what was, and to a certain extent still is, a very patriarchal society. But without that understanding and opportunity for a good education, I would not be here, I could not be here speaking with you right now as the first female Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I was once a barefooted little girl, growing up in a very beautiful village, Persad-Bissessar, very beautiful, poor village, knowing the pangs of hunger and the struggles to be educated. And I wouldn't be here now if it were not for education. I never thought I would be here, but I am, I did along the way. And the journey represents the reason why we are all gathered here, I say respectfully, today, as we engage in the various celebrations of Commonwealth Day 2011 under the theme, Women as Agents of Change. My own small story of a village girl to Prime Minister is simply a demonstration of what can occur when even some opportunities and a better education are provided to girls and to women. It is the first time in its long history that the Commonwealth has focused specifically on women. And I must say that this is a very welcome historic first, and I certainly hope it is not the last time for this very special focus. It is also more special and significant that our theme coincides with the centenary of International Women's Day, celebrated on March 7th, with the theme, Equal Access to Education, Training, and Science and Technology Pathways to Decent Work for Women. But as we all know, it is a case of much done, much still to do, and unfortunately, that is particularly the case in the Commonwealth. So in opening this conference, Madam Chair, I want to address the work still to be done to overcome the present inequalities still confronting women in the Commonwealth. Our theme, Women as Agents of Change, is integral to the Commonwealth Plan of Action for Gender Equality, which runs up to 2015. The target here also for the international community's MDGs. The Plan of Action is based on the premise that empowering women is essential to achieving economic, social, and political development, and sets out 4 critical areas for Commonwealth action for achieving gender equality. And these are democracy and peace. Secondly, human rights and law. Thirdly, eradicating poverty and delivering economic empowerment. And fourthly, ending the scourge of HIV. Progress towards these Commonwealth targets has been slow, but undoubtedly education is a key building block to ensure that women are agents of change in all of these 4 areas. And the Chinese have a proverb which goes like this. If you are planning for a year, sow rice. If you are planning for a decade, plant trees. But if you are planning for a lifetime, you educate people. Some of you have heard it, I see. Education either functions as an instrument used to facilitate integration of the younger generation into the logic of the present system and bring about conformity, or it becomes the practice of freedom, the means by which men and women deal critically and creatively with reality and discover how to participate in the transformation of their world. It is also the main tool for enabling society at large to adopt new and more inclusive paradigms for addressing development challenges. Education in its broadest sense is a pathway to exercising civil and political rights. And I've always said education is a passport, it is the key out of poverty. The aim of education is to enable individuals to continue their education, and the object and reward of learning is continued capacity for growth. And so it is also well known that the most transformative intervention that can be made in any society is to educate women, an investment that yields far greater returns beyond building bridges, roads, and skyscrapers. I pause for a moment to share personal experience with you. I was 16 years old, and I always wanted to come to a place called London. I wanted to come here when I was very, very young, because we grew up in the transition years from colony to republic, and so the Commonwealth was very much a part of our upbringing and growth. But I always wanted to come to London to study. At that time, I didn't know what I was coming to study, but I wanted to come to study. And I left my high school at 16 years old, and I said, I'm not going back to school, I want to go to London. I want to go to study, because my parents were very upset. And my father and my uncle, in their conversations, my uncle said to my father, why do you want to send Kamla to London to study? She's a girl. She should get married and have children. This is real. It was my mother, God rest her soul, and I thank her, who insisted if the girl wants to go, she should go. In Trinidad language, if she wants to go, she should go. Let her go. The rest is history. I thank my mother for that. So what are some of the steps we need to take to make sure Commonwealth women get equal access to education so they can act as agents of change? Here are some suggestions with greatest respect to you, and collective action to better harness women's resource potentials. On the demand side, we need to overcome the discrimination which leads to boys getting priority access to education. I gave you one example there, where it is some may feel the girls should stay home. It also happens in families where the families cannot afford to send the children to further their education. So what do they do? The boys are chosen first. They give them the priority. So we need, on the demand side, to overcome the discrimination which leads to boys getting priority access to education. This problem is more acute the higher up the educational ladder we go. When resources are scarce, in some communities boys still get preference, while girls may be expected to marry young or become carers. We need to incentivize school attendance for girls. On the supply side, we need enough places for girls with secure schools, proper water and sanitation. In some countries, primary school teachers are overwhelmingly women, but other places that is not the case, and we need enough women teachers as well, especially in the rural areas, and flexible education for girls who have caring responsibilities. We need to reform the curriculum and ensure that women have access to all subjects, included at an early age, and before the gender stereotypes have become set. They must have access to science as well as sport. We need to have sound policies and programs for early years and continuing education, recognizing that women who lose out in education first time around often want to return either to support their children's learning or to train for work, so they would want to come in later on in the cycle. More concrete effort is required to stem the tide of boys' underachievement and early dropout rates, as these have long-term implications for family cohesion, social stability, and community peace. And so whilst we push the agenda for the development of women, equal access for women, we must not forget the men, the boys as well. So yes, whilst we're here today to celebrate the achievements of the Commonwealth, we are also here to recognize the challenges we face. Women in the Commonwealth can see through the glass ceiling, and they are impatient to achieve the equality which we know is ours by right and is built by governments across our countries. I am convinced that those of you in this chamber this morning are here because of your commitment to the cause of delivering equality for women in the Commonwealth through access to education which empowers and emancipates.